Factorio is one of those games where I'll play it for like a month straight, and then I might not go back to it for like a year, maybe 2 years, and then I'll load it back up again, and then play it for a month straight, and then rinse and repeat. And it's not because I don't like the game or anything, it's the game makes my brain hurt, which I know sounds really stupid, but it's so complex and there's so many different things that can and will go wrong. Like, you'll be focused on one thing, and then out of nowhere, 5 different issues have popped up in the background. An example of this is, whilst messing with the trains in one of my bases, a horde of bugs came to my main base and destroyed a bunch of the conveyor belts and some objects that I needed, some important buildings. So I had to go back to the main base to try to sort it out. And whilst I was at the main base, the horde of bugs decided to go fight the base where the train was at, destroying everything there. So I now lost like hours and hours of progress because I wasn't prepared for the bugs to raid me. And that's not the only problem. Another problem is I kept running out of space, so I had to keep either doing makeshift improvements to my base, which looked messy, or I had to rip up the entire thing and redesign it just because I ran out of some space because I underestimated how much space I needed. Which, I know that sounds really annoying, but once you sort that out, once you fix one of your problems in that game, you feel like an actual genius. You feel like you've outsmarted the game, even though it's just entirely intended for you to do that. Anyway, I'll quickly jump into the history of Factorio, which will be very brief. Factorio was developed and published by Wube Software, a Czech Republican studio. After the game was crowdfunded in 2013, the game came to Steam in February of 2016 to what was a very popular reception, meaning more and more people were playing the game. What was the early access of the game, allowing the developers to add more and more to the game. But they didn't rush anything, they were just doing what all good indie devs should do and went to the pace that they needed, not to burn out or not to enjoy making the game anymore. Or not to, yeah. So yeah, they were giving us bits and pieces and different patches, and after around 4 years, the game released on August 14th, 2020. And I've never seen the game dip below overwhelmingly positive, which is really rare for a game that's done this well to not dip below that. So when you load into Factorio, you'll be stood there, you'll get to watch your little ship blow up or something, and you'll be stood there with nothing but a pistol and 10 rounds, and you've got to figure out how to go from nothing to having an entire base to launch a rocket from, which doesn't sound impossible, and it's not, but it's really hard. It will take time to set everything up. You'll have to overcome so much stuff. It's just so fun to do, and you can play either on your own or with other people. And what was it? You can play with up to 65,535 different players apparently. But the maximum is 100 to 400 from what I can see here, so don't quote me on that. Yeah. Anyways, like I was saying, you start out with nothing, and you've somehow got to automate everything to get yourself a rocket. And you could do it manually. In fact, I don't know if you could do it manually, but I'm pretty sure that would take like hundreds of hours if you try to do it without any automation. Also, it's kind of the beauty of the game to watch your little base go from like, I don't know, one mining drill and furnace and chest to some trains flying by you, dropping stuff off and then taking off again, whilst robots go and do stuff, whilst you're getting attacked by a horde of bugs, but luckily you've got like laser turrets defending your base. The game's so chaotic, but it's controlled chaos, which is really good. And the good thing about that controlled chaos is it's all from your own doing. So, like I said, with the trains and robots passing by you, when you're watching all that go, you know you set every last bit of that up. You know you've got those trains moving, those robots doing their own thing. Everything that you see working is due to you or your team, and that's just a really great feeling. You also get these little, like, science bottles, like little there. You get those, and you've got to put them in labs to research new items like guns or armor and stuff. And that's another thing that you've got to stay on top of, is your research, because you don't want to fall behind whilst you're creating more and more pollution, because then more and more hordes of bugs will come for you. So you need to stay on top of that, as well as staying on top of your whole production line. And the progression makes sense. Well, I say makes sense. The progression, it's fair with how it does it. Like, you'll go from like an assault rifle to a shotgun to just different stuff in like the weapons categories, like body armor, and then you go through all that, like light body armor, heavy body armor, until you get in like an exosuit or a exoskeleton, sorry, to protect yourself more and have different stuff on it, and you've got better weapons. And you'll start out with a car with like a gun on it, and then eventually you'll get this thing. Just look at this. Now that I've just showed that, I may as well speak about the combat in the game. And yeah, there is combat, like, because I've been speaking about the bugs. It's a top-down game, so it's not as if it's going to be like super intense combat, but there is a lot of action. You're getting swarmed by a lot of enemies usually, and you got multiple different ways of dealing with them, from a gun to that thing I just showed you, to turrets you can place down and destroy the hives and stuff. But in this game you need a good offense and defense, because the bugs will be coming at you. If you're creating too much pollution and it touches their nest, they'll start trying to destroy your base. Rightfully so as well, because you're polluting their home planet. So you've got to prepare for them to attack, and you've also probably got to go out your way to attack their hives and bases. Otherwise they'll keep attacking you, so you've got to terminate their base. And in case the turrets and the guns and stuff weren't working, you can just shoot an atomic bomb at them, which is always fun. It's different, at least. The style of the game's top-down, like I said, and I think that's perfect for this kind of game, because you need to see the whole of everything, really. You need to make sure everything's running. Your furnaces, your drills, your electrics up. You need to make sure your conveyor belts are all connected and running fine. Everything's being put into the right chest or automation center, and all the right little science bottles are going to the right labs. There's a lot happening. There's so much stuff you have to keep track of. So the top-down view makes it perfect that you can keep track of it and know where everything is. Because whilst you got Satisfactory, which is like a first-person game, you've also got like a lot less happening in Satisfactory than Factorio. Whilst in this, you're getting swarmed by the bugs, and then your stuff's not working. You need to figure out what's not working, what's not connected to what. And it'd be annoying if you have to keep turning to look at everything when you've got thousands of stuff you need to keep track of. So, like I said, the main game, you've got to launch the rocket, but that's just the free play scenario, and you've got 9 other scenarios, so 10 scenarios total. And yeah, I'll quickly run through all the scenarios now, saying what they are and what it's about. So the tutorial lets you get used to the game's mechanics, how it works, and what the game is really about, and the buttons and everything. It's a tutorial. I mean, what do you want? Free play, like I've explained, you've got to do all your lab research. You've got to figure out a method and your plan of attack to try build the rocket and get off the planet, which will take a lot of time. It took me so incredibly long to do it, and so many attempts, because things just fall apart. And I'm one of those people where if I have a different idea of what to do, I'll try my hardest to go set up my other idea, even if it requires restarting. You then have sandbox mode, which is like imagine Minecraft. That's it. Imagine Minecraft. You've got free roam of everything. You can unlock all the research at will. You can spawn any item you want. It lets you test out everything in the late game without having to earn your way there. It lets you experiment with different builds, different stuff, different items. It's really good if you want to try stuff out rather than have to make your way all the way to that item, because it does take a long time to unlock certain stuff. I don't know if I said Minecraft Creative, but it's Minecraft Creative mode pretty much, but in Factorio style. Transport Belt Madness is it's like a weird little puzzle mode where, say you've got like, I could probably just show gameplay of it, but you could have like some iron having to go over there, but there's something going in the middle, and then you've got to figure out how to get the iron there to there in such a limited amount of space. So it's a fun little puzzle mode, and it lets you learn about how to use the most of your surroundings. Like, your limited area you've got, you will use all of it that you need to use, and that's such an important thing for the actual base game, because you will run out of space so many times, and you'll have to like rip certain stuff out and put it back and try to make more space. So if you know how to use your space whilst you've got it, that'll be so ideal and help you so much when you're actually playing. Tight spots where you're like limited to how much room you've got, and you've got to buy more room for you to do more stuff, and you've got to also buy the machines along with it whilst you're on a limited amount of time. And once that time's run out, you've got to sell what you've just your base that you've just made. It's a cool little mode actually. In Supply Challenge, you're given, the game will give you like a set like list of how much items you need, and it'll give you an increase in demand of how like more and more items, so it becomes harder and harder as you're playing through to get those items and a large amount of those items. And yeah, you've just got to come up with your best tactic to keep getting these items that the game's asking you for, whether that's like iron or like those circuits, red circuits. You've got so much stuff that it could ask you for, and you've got to get it. Wave Defense is my favourite mode actually, beyond free play, where you're just setting up to protect your silo rocket, and you've got to just beat waves and waves of enemies, but each time you're like killing the enemies and going through the waves, you're getting points, and you can use those points to upgrade like your weapons or like all this different, your armor, all this different stuff you can choose to upgrade whilst playing like kind of the base game, because you need to upgrade and like get different stuff and everything to build around the rocket to protect it and get turrets and all that. You've got to actually manually do that to protect your rocket. It's quite cool. PvP's exactly that. You've got different teams and you've got to fight to the death whilst having your own technologies unlocked, and you have to get better ones. So say you're trying to build your turrets to play on the defense, and then someone else could be trying to make their way to like shotguns and cars and stuff to try to run through you. It's fun. It's just a fun mode. I'm saying that a lot because the game's fun, I guess. Now, because I'm a piece of shit, during free play or like the base game, I always somehow turned it into PvP. I'd just get in a car and try to run my friend over, or he'd be doing something and I'd throw a grenade at him just for absolutely no reason. I think one of the highlights of playing through this game was when I turned the train on. Well, he was AFK on the tracks. I don't know why. I think he was doing something, or something happened whilst we was looking at how the trains work. And then I went to the other side of the area to turn the train on, just so it just flew through him and killed him. That was good. That was probably one of the best moments on the game. What was the next one? Rocket Rush, where you've got all the technologies unlocked and you've got to launch the rocket as quickly as you can after choosing some starting items that aren't the usual ones, so you can get like a head start on what you need to do. There's a fun little speedrun mode. There it is again, fun. It's a speedrun mode for you to go through and enjoy if you're into that kind of stuff. I am not that great at the base game. I find it incredibly challenging, so to try speedrun it would be the dumbest thing ever for me, because I can't even beat the main game, really. And the final one sec, I had to get this one up, is team production, where you compete as teams to complete short production-based objectives. Yeah, I like I said, I didn't play that one, and I'm not gonna run through it as if I've even fucking messed with it. But just through those 10 scenarios, you can see how much like stuff the game has to offer you. So much different stuff the game has to do, and it doesn't even need to offer you that, because the base game is like it's so big, and like it's got so much going for it that you can't complain. And then they just whack on 8, I'm not counting the tutorial, 8 different scenarios on top of it for you to play around in. It's crazy. Like, you could easily spend 100 hours just doing the main game, and you've got so much more to try after that. It's wild. When me and my friend played through this for the first time, it was something, I don't know what I'm doing with my hand, it was something completely different for me. I've never played a game like this before, so going through it for the first time, it was such like a breath of fresh air, because while being something different, it allowed me to try so many different things. It like, yeah, sure, it gave me a little bit of a headache to be like, how do these trains work, and how does uranium work? It gave me a small bit of a headache doing that, but once you figured it out, oh my fucking god, there hasn't been a feeling like that in a game that I felt in ages, where I felt like, oh my god, I've just figured out how this works. And it rewarded me for experimenting with different stuff, with different layouts. Sometimes it'd work, sometimes it wouldn't. And another lesson this has taught me is sometimes, granted, I probably should have known this a lot sooner, but I'm a stubborn person, and sometimes I can't be the best at something, and that's fine. Like, where I was failing with trains and stuff, I've mentioned trains a lot, where I was failing with the trains and stuff, my friend knew what to do with them, and he helped me with that, and he was like, how do the robots work? And I was like, okay, I'll show you how the robots work. And we'd combine stuff, and then we'd swap, and he'd let me mess with the trains for a bit and have a play around with them, and I'd let him mess with the robots and try to figure them out. And then eventually we'll be like, okay, I prefer doing this, and what do you prefer doing? And then we'd have like a system going. It's also one of those games where I enjoyed researching stuff on it. Like, there'd be times in the game where we just set all the base up to have like turrets everywhere just so it can protect us. Sure, we could have paused it or went off it, but we weren't doing that. So we just both like Alt-Tab and do some research, and I was like looking at how the uranium stuff works and how to go down that path and what it can help you with later on. And he'd be looking at his stuff. We'd both just be researching, talking about like the game and what there is to come and how to deal with certain stuff and how that certain stuff will help us. It was just a really good like thing to do. It was exciting to be like, okay, we got this to come later and stuff. And like I said, I happily played it with. I played it 3 or 4 different times. I think I've launched the rocket like once. I played it twice with one friend, and once with another friend, and then once on my own. And each playthrough was so different just because of the seed location and how far different resources are away. And sure, you can try have the same base layout and stuff for each one, but we weren't doing that because we wanted to try different base layouts and different methods of how to do things and see if we could optimize it, min-max our time, stuff like that. And that was a really enjoyable part. Like I said, I didn't speedrun the game, but I was still trying to learn the best I could with the game. The sound effects as well in this game are phenomenal, and they make up so much of the atmosphere. Like, when you start out and you've got like no machines running, no furnaces burning you ore or anything, it's so unnervingly quiet and like empty. There's a light just shining on one part of my face. That's so annoying. Yeah, there's a like no noise at all. It's so empty. It's creepily quiet. And the more you add to your base, the more furnaces, the more what don't know what they're called, mining stations, drills, quarries, whatever they're called. The more you add of them, you can hear them like digging away. You can hear the furnaces burning. You can hear your trains whizzing past you. You can hear so much the bugs come in and the different little alerts they've got as well, like when the bugs attack or when your research completes. You've got like so much different noises and stuff that you're taking in, and each one means something, and it gets louder as the more you create, and you can hear the steam and the furnaces burning. The sound effects are so, they add so much to the game, and I almost just said the soundtrack, and I actually will talk about that quickly. The soundtrack adds so much atmosphere as well. Like, the song expansion is starting to tick over into like nostalgic territory now. The soundtrack just amplifies the setting of the game, which is barren alien planet, get off soon, or get off as quickly as you can. It's great. Now, I'm not gonna just keep talking about the sound effects and the music and stuff, because it's not really like a soundtrack as in like it will stick in your head, other than expansion, which has stuck in my head. It's one of those where it just amplifies what you're doing. It like what it sets out to do, it does extremely well. And same with the sound effect, like I was talking about, all that sound effects. The turret guns, the little turrets, when you hear them shooting, you know shit's going down, you know you're getting attacked, and it's good. Now, yeah, I'm not going to keep talking about all this, so I'll just move on to the next thing. Now, I've said this game has so much to do in it, plenty of times, like from all the scenarios, the base game. Now, what could add more to that? Modding. Modding is great, and there's so many good mods in this. From quality of life changes to add in whole mod packs to add in just an item like cliff nukes. And the fact that you can get mod packs that change how difficult the game is isn't so funny to me, because the game's not easy. It's really not. It might be once you've beaten it a lot and you've optimized your way of doing it, but for me, it's not an easy game. It's got so much to it, so much going on, that I don't think it will ever be easy for me. It might become easier, but it will never be an easy game. So to have a mod pack that changes the difficulty, to go, yeah, this was way too easy, here's it on like tenfold, that's so impressive to me, and so cool at the same time. I'd love to try it out, but maybe I will, actually. There's also mods that add different music from different games to this one. Like, I'm pretty sure there's one that added like music from Genshin Impact to this, which I'd never personally think of mixing the two over, but there you go. I've always said, if a game needs mods to be a good game, then the game's awful. The base game is probably awful, but luckily, this isn't one of those situations. This is just one of those moments where the mods kind of just amplify how good the game is for the most part. Like, in fact, just look at all these, look at all them. There's so much different mods, is my point, and none of them are required to enjoy the game, or to, yeah, sure there's quality of life stuff, but none of them are required. So, a massive game with a bunch of stuff in it, and then you put mods on top of it, you put a great soundtrack on top of it, and then you think, okay, this is the whole package. There is not much more. There's no more we can go from here, pretty much. And then the people at Wube Software have decided that no, there is still a lot more we can add to this game. And here comes a DLC, an expansion pack in, what's this? October? So Wube Software are still breathing life into this game, 11 years later from the crowdfunding, which is amazing. And the expansion's called Space Age, where, you know, the game ends when you launch the rocket, but what if it didn't? What if they gave you different planets to explore with different stuff and different quality of life changes, like the trains again.
But here she comes.
The trains, right now they just go straight, that's it. You can obviously bend them, but I'm on about, like, it's on one axis where they all, like, are on this one, so you can't really have one go through each other unless you time it right. But in this new one, they can go up and bridge over and down. It's actually quite cool how it's looking to be set up. They're also adding quality to items from normal to legendary. Normal being, I'm pretty sure, what we've got right now, and then the quality gets higher and higher, and say, like, legendary, your furnaces will smelt the ore quicker, or your drills will mine quicker, stuff like that. Your weapons will do more damage. Everything's getting a quality system to it, and that is really cool. And then each planet's gonna have, like, different challenges and different stuff for you to do. And the trailer for the DLC looks really good. Like, each planet has, like, a different atmosphere and a different setting to it. It looks like just more goodness from this game, and I don't care how much it is, I will be buying it and playing it. And I might do a video on, like, what I think of it, like an overall rating video of it. But I suspect it's going to be at least an 8, maybe a 9 out of 10. And yeah, I'll be playing it of day of release, hopefully, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into it. Anyways, I'm sure I missed something. This is probably going to be like a 25-minute video, which isn't that big for a retrospective, but it's my first attempt at one of these kind of videos. And it's my first video with... Oh, yeah, you probably won't, hopefully you won't be able to see it, but it's my first video with a green screen, and I'm going to try and mess with that a bit. This is a lot of firsts in this video. It's first proper facecam video as well, which is quite nerve-wracking. There's a lot of firsts. But yeah, not to be about me. This game's phenomenal, and if you haven't played it, I highly suggest you go and play it. I know my video is not going to be the one you click if you haven't played Factorio. So for the most part, if you're watching this, you've probably played or seen or like Factorio, but just give it a replay then. Just go through it again and just appreciate it more, because the expansion's coming out. Now's your perfect time to go through it. And yeah, I know this video is very late considering the game came out in 2020 and it early access in 2016 and crowdfunded in 2013. So yeah, it's late, but better late than never. And when I was replaying through it, so many memories from the first time I was playing it just flooded back to me. Like I told you, the one with the train, where I turned it on and it killed my friend. We had one where we just got overran from the bugs, and it pretty much just ripped our base apart and stuff like that. But yeah, there's just so many good memories on these games that going through them again is so enjoyable that it made me want to make this kind of video. And same with other games. Like, I've got one I'm working on, about Little Big Planet, and not just one, all of the Little Big Planets and how it came to be and what happened to them and everything about Little Big Planet. So if you like that franchise, which is completely unrelated to Factorio in almost every single way, yeah, be sure to stick around, because that should be coming out soonish. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you got to the end of this, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I mentioned trains a bit too much in this video. I started to seem like that guy from you know, the guy, the train guy. Anyway, I'm ranting now. Thank you for watching, and subscribe or don't, like or don't, it's really up to you. See ya.